The Accountant Squared 2025. Whether it's square dancing or calculating the square root of 1764, Christian Wolff has your number. But when the odds are heavily stacked against him, he calls in the only backup he can count on, his brother. Now the Wolf Pack is back and ready to balance the books. 42. The answer is 42.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our Rating, the show where I get together with two of my friends and we take a movie franchise, break it down by movie, give it an overall score, and throw it on the board to see where it lands compared to the other movie franchises. I'm joined this week, as always, by Will and Brian. Brian, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a bit of a busy week, but honestly, I've had a lot of time to sit around, play some Silk Song, watch some movies. I can't complain too much. Will, how are you doing this week?
Feeling great, ready to jump right into this number cruncher.
Fantastic. Speaking of jumping right into this one, we did The Accountant last week, and we had some interesting conversations based around the Asperger's and autistic side of the movie and how they dealt with that. Brian, before we really get into this one, I'm just super curious. This one seemed to shy away from that for the most part. I don't think they said the word Asperger's or autism once, and usually just refer to it as his condition. How did you feel about that? Did that work out better for you, or do you feel like they were trying to hide it?
I came into this one with trying to just let it slide off, right? Just let it go. I did my rant last week. I don't need to go off on this one. And so I was ready to accept whatever Hollywood wanted to cram in to make their plot work. And then they kind of did something a little weird with this one. They tried to pivot their characters a little bit and try to change sort of the details about the conditions that the different people, because we had multiple different people with conditions in this one. And they were kind of changing it to more of a condition where you could be hyper fixated on something and learn it super fast. And I'm not really sure how accurate at all that is, but that's where they kind of pitched it. And I was like, wait a minute. I was ready to just go with they're autistic and they can do these things. And instead the movie was kind of spinning it a little bit. And then they even changed some characters a little bit. Like Ben Affleck was more humorous in this one. And I was just like, man, I was so prepared for you guys to go one way. And then you twisted it and it caught me off guard. I did end up getting my feet back under me later in the film though.
So did you like that twist though? The fact they changed the characters a little bit and kind of got away from it a bit?
I wasn't ready for it, and I don't like that things changed from 1 to 2 because it takes me out of it. Had I not watched 1 so recently, it probably wouldn't have been a big deal. I wouldn't have remembered and noticed the subtle differences. So for me, no, I didn't like it, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal for most people.
Fair enough. I was looking into the first movie last week and stumbled into a Reddit rabbit hole where people were talking about this movie and the voice that Ben Affleck is using in this movie. And I was expecting it to be way worse than it was based off of the comments they were making. So maybe because I was prepared for it to be awful, it didn't bother me that much. Although it was still kind of that, why did he develop this accent in the last 3 years or whatever it is?
Yeah.
8 years, I guess it is.
Yeah.
As opposed to the first 40-something years of his life. That was weird to me. And there were some character changes. I love John Bernthal. I enjoyed him in this movie, but he was not the same person, or he didn't seem to be the same person as was in the first movie. He had his stuff together in the first movie. It seemed like we saw less of him. I'll give it that. But he seemed pretty cool and collected. And this one, he seemed a little bit more messed up and not sure of who himself and all that. You're giving an interesting look. Will, you got a thought on the change of characters?
I actually preferred John's character changes or development, I'll call it, because in the first one, you purposely, for the stupid reveals in the movie, don't get to know a lot about John's character. And so it's pretty ambiguous. All you know is that he's a really good trained killer and he does hits for whatever, this group of hitmen company. But you don't really get a whole lot from him. You know, he's a fast talker. He seems to have his shit together. There's times in this movie he has that as well. You know, you see the aftermath of, him in the Russian sex worker, maybe, and he's chatting with her and whatnot, and then his brother calls and it unravels him. And I think that was okay because he has this like really broken relationship with his brother, a really hard relationship with his brother. So I think it's a fair unraveling. And I don't know, I just feel like we get to learn more about his character and that he's not this perfect killing machine. He has all his own issues as well. I didn't mind that.
I got to go with Will on this one. I felt it was more building on his character, and I liked what they did with it. And I did like Bernthal in this one. He was probably the saving grace for me in this film. Cracked me up with his cat thing at the end. Really enjoyed his character. That was probably the high point for me. Ben Affleck's character seemed a lot different from the first movie, and they tried to make this like a humorous buddy cop film. Did you guys get that? Like
100%.
And it felt like up until the end, and now the end is different. The end landed for me. Great action sequence, some funny jokes at the end. It closed well. I enjoyed it. But up until then, it felt like they were trying to go a whole different route with this movie, and none of it was working for me the whole time. I was like, wait a minute, you gave up action for comedy and you're not landing the jokes. These characters have changed with no explanation other than maybe Bernthal. And yeah, it just didn't work for me.
I think okay, the speed dating I didn't love.
I hated
the way
that.
of showing
I hated
that
that altogether,
he's still awkward and whatnot. And the fact that he just kept going back to tell them how to do their taxes was like, I think the only accounting we saw in this movie called The Accountant. But the scene that really just absolutely did nothing for me was and I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, and I'm sure Brian's going to have something to say on this, is when he's talking about like his people, and like he's calling back to the society, and she's got like all these kids working for her in a room, and they're cracking into this woman's cell phone, and like they're racing each other. Just like everything about that was just like, no, thank you. Like I was okay with her being like a one-off person that he had a relationship with that like had a super computer just in her dorm room. But when they had the entire basement set up in this, like, that room is more technically advanced than like the war room in the White House is. You know what I mean? Like, it was insane. And it's like, you're going to tell me the rest of people working in that facility have no idea what's going on?
Yeah.
And
they're just playing Minecraft in there. They're just playing Minecraft.
They did the thing that Hollywood loves to do with hackers, which is make them be able to just type rapidly on a keyboard and hack into anything. And that's not how it works. Hacking is a much less exciting, sexy, glamorous thing than Hollywood makes it. It's a lot of times hackers dig through your garbage can to find out your password. Like it's weird stuff like that, or calling people and having a conversation, finding out who, your mother's maiden name or something. That's the weird stuff that hackers actually do. There isn't some secret backdoor access to the Pentagon. At least I hope there's not. I don't know. It's the American government. I wouldn't put it past them. But the whole hacking scene bothered me. Where'd those kids come from? Why were they so incredibly good at doing things that were, in my opinion, impossible?
Autism.
Yeah, because autism. Yeah.
I only explanation.
Use that and cram it in there. Yeah. And then we developed this new type of autism too in this movie, which was they had a term for it, and I don't remember, but it was Savant syndrome. Thank you. Where they like get cracked on the head and suddenly they can just hyper focus on something and learn it in a matter of days. And I was like, I've never heard of this one. This seems new to me. I'm not really sure about it. And then they make it sound like maybe that's what Ben Affleck has. The mother in the story who was sort of the villain, she had it. And I didn't even get explanation. Hey, here's something I got to ask you guys.
I will say, I feel like I have heard of that before. Not necessarily the wording savant syndrome, but like the idea that somebody like gets cracked on the head and all of a sudden can speak French.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like something,
or I feel like learn a new language really quick.
Yeah, right. Now that might be like old wives' tale material more so than actual science. But
John Travolta
that was definitely not something I'd heard of during this movie. Right? Yeah, it's older than this movie. Whether it's real or not is a whole other conversation.
I got a question for you guys.
Shoot,
did you guys understand the plot? Because I sure as hell didn't. Like at one point she falls asleep and wakes up and he's rearranged all that stuff on the wall and he's walking her through it. And I'm like, I'm going to have to take your word for it because you're making these like accounting things and I don't even know what you're talking about. I have no idea how he's connecting dots Or why? I don't even know. Why did that woman get abducted and lose her kid and then get hit in the head and come back? Why? I don't know. I lost all of it. Maybe I just didn't care. I don't know.
I'm with you on this one. Like, this is something I was going to bring up as well, because like the plot and story in the first movie, I don't want to say they were bone simple, but it all made sense. Like A to B to C to D, movie's over. It was
a complex plot in the first one, but it did make sense and you could follow it.
I think they overcomplicated the plot in the first one, and I feel they overcomplicated the plot in this one. I think both movies have a fairly simple plot, but they tried to be clever in the way they presented it, and failed on both accounts to some degree.
I think whether it was a simple plot or not, it was convoluted in its storytelling, and there were 100%. Things that really, I mean, maybe I'll ask you guys this, and you'll be like, well, because of X, Y, or Z. J.K. Simmons is in this movie very, very briefly, runs into the bathroom, writes something on his arm so that the coroner will find it, and he writes down, "Find the accountant."
Correct.
Why didn't he write down the name of the person that they're supposed to be looking for? Like, theoretically, the person in his job description should be somewhat good at her job.
Because she didn't get there for being good at her job. She got there because he put her there, and she agreed to take tips from the accountant.
Okay, but
that's why she spends the majority of the movie trying to prove her worth, right?
I guess. Okay.
But trying.
Why? How did she figure out this phone number that she calls and talks to the secretary, and meanwhile the autistic people are listening in? Where did she get that number from? What is that?
I believe, again, that was a remainder from the first movie, that they did find out that he had a connection with them or with that institute.
Okay.
And so that's where the voice was coming from.
She was calling the actual institute?
Correct. Yeah. So she was getting the night staff at the institute.
Okay.
But knew that the British voice was always listening.
Okay. I didn't quite catch that. I thought she was literally calling like some random number.
right. And they're
of like a cleaning agent's, not a clean.
Thank you.
Of like a cleaning, of like some sort of like telemarketing agency or something, and just talking to the secretary, knowing that they'd be listening. I'm like, where did this number come from?
Honestly, it kind of reminded me of 13 Monkeys, if you guys have ever seen that.
Yeah.
Where they call a number knowing that like somebody else is going to pick it up down the road, kind of a thing. Okay, here's my other question that I couldn't wrap my head around. How did Ben Affleck look at a family photo and decide that kid was autistic?
That's terrible.
Like that whole thing was just terrible. Like, wait, what? Like, why? I think he's like me. Based off of what?
Superheroes,
like the kids in the background doing a Rubik's Cube or something. Like, he's just sitting there smiling with his parents.
That's one of those things that I was just like, I'm not even going to worry about it. This is just one of those things Hollywood wants to just steal this horrible situation that so many young people and adults have to deal with, and they're going to make an action flick out of it. So I ranted about it last week. I'm going to let it go. That was one of those things I saw that I'm like, that's terrible.
Recognize superheroes. That's it. Superheroes recognize superheroes.
I guess. I will say, going back to the question I originally asked you, Brian, I don't have a foot in this, a shoe in this horse, a horse in this race. I don't have a horse in this race as far as like autism goes. I didn't necessarily love that they took out any mention or direct mention of his condition in this one. I feel like, for better or worse, at least it was showing some form of autism, some form of representation in the first movie. And we had a pretty good discussion about that in last week's episode, and actually after last week's episode in the post game. I don't feel like any of that's present in this one. And I don't know if that was because
like they were going for ambiguity is what they were doing.
It almost feels like they kicked the hornet's nest and then were scared, and so they tried to back off while still having the sequel.
Yes, exactly. And it felt like they were even pivoting and trying to make other things work, so it explained it a little bit better, because like general autism, you're not going to end up with Ben Affleck. We talked about that before. Yeah. Maybe you'll end up with Ben Affleck in real life, but you're not going to end up with his character in this movie. And so it bothered me a lot last week. I was going to let all this go, and then like you said, I walk in and they've changed things. They're approaching it differently, and then I was like, what? Pick one, go with it, you know?
honestly, between his voice and the way he was acting, and now admittedly, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, it almost seemed more like he was being Forrest Gump than he was being Christian Wolff.
Yeah.
Like it
Right.
kind of seemed like a pretty drastic change. And I didn't necessarily dislike it once I settled into, okay, this is what this movie is. Like as far as his direction in this movie, it's okay. It was just one of those, like, I kind of liked the representation, even if it was poorly done. At least they tried. And in this one, it seemed like they got scared.
Right. Yeah, I'm similar to you. It was weird because he had way more lines in this. And so it felt like a character change because, one, he's talking way more. Unlike you guys, I didn't hate the beginning where it showed the speed dating thing because, one, it kind of showed who he is, as in like rigging the algorithm or whatnot. It showed that he is still super awkward, but it showed I guess, his want or desire to move forward in his life and maybe pursue a relationship. And that kind of was a through line in the story. So I didn't hate that part. Was it well executed? Not great, I don't think. But I didn't hate that. But what I did like with him and his character changes, I guess, is that I did enjoy the brothers being brothers. They felt like, you know what? Yeah, they aren't seeing eye to eye. There's a reason why they're kind of disjointed and they don't really contact each other all that much. Like there's a whole lot of, you could feel a whole lot of backstory and tension between them. And I thought they played that off really well, but you also felt like the love between them, you know? So I didn't actually mind that. I actually thought that was some of the highlights of the movie. It was the interaction, and maybe it's because John was such a good performer in this. I don't know.
To be fair, I didn't say that I hated the speed dating. I just didn't.
No, for sure.
I hated the speed dating. I'll say it.
I do hated the speed dating.
But yeah, I agree. I like the brother connection. Them, you know, hey, you've never once told me thank you, and later he says thank you when they're going on the mission. Yeah, there was some good storytelling there. That was one of the aspects I was like, okay, at least they're doing this okay. Yeah, I didn't understand the speed dating. I literally thought that he was annoyed at the way they built their algorithm and he was going there to debunk their algorithm. I didn't get that he was there to actually go on a date.
Yeah, no, he was actually trying to take full advantage of the algorithm to get the most chance at getting or finding a person of interest, right? Or falling in love. But then once they all met him, they're like, oh, this guy's totally not what we thought he was.
It seemed like they looked at him and was like, ooh, and got all wet and then ran after him. And then he opened his mouth and it was a done deal.
Dry as the desert at the end of the movie.
Yeah. What is it they say that a woman knows within the first 6 seconds if she's going to go to bed with you or not? The rest is just you staying out of your own way.
Right.
I didn't really think of this until just now, but in the first movie, Anna Kendrick is all about him. But then he leaves her to keep her safe because, like, oh, it won't work between us and somebody's trying to kill you. Mm-hmm. And then in this movie, if he's looking for a date anyways, he's already got a foot in the door with her. Why? I mean, like, I don't necessarily need her in the whole movie, but, like, it would have been nice to have had a scene where he's like, he does check in on her and maybe she's dating somebody and he's just like, all right, she's good. Like,
there's multiple as opposed to potentials there. Like, it's 8 years later. Maybe she's moved on, whatever have you. Or maybe it's just she's busy filming other movies. Like it could be a multiple of things.
Literally, they could have just had like a photograph of the two of them like on a date or something, and he just like looks at it fondly and then walks away from it. Like they tried, it didn't work out, something like that. Where they don't even need to have her in the film. They could just have a mention of her. That would have been, I think there were opportunities there, but yeah, probably not the budget.
This might also only be an issue to us because we watched this in such close succession.
Right.
Because 8 years later, if you're watching this movie, again, Dan forgot half the movie in 4 days, so I don't know if it would.
But I did remember Anna Kendrick was in it, so
I wish I forgot the whole movie in 4 days.
just hit your head, get in a car accident, you'll learn all kinds of new things and forget everything else.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Okay, so here's what I got of the gist of a simple plot that you guys said you're like kind of like what is going on in this movie. We've got generic bad guys who are trafficking women into the sex work trade, who pride themselves on taking women who have kids because that leverages them to never be able to get out or get away from that lifestyle. Enter Ray King, who is for some reason tracking this specific family who's gone missing and wants to find them and has a lead on it, he gets offed, but he calls in the accountant because he knows if anybody can follow through and solve this, it's him. Then the accountant finds out that the son has autism and is like, I'm all in. And then we find out the woman who was in the sex working somehow tried to escape, got hit by a car, and then became a professional killer without any memory of her family until the very end. In which case, she still didn't care.
Exactly. She didn't even care at the end. Like,
I mean, it's up in the air. She took the photo and then she ripped it up, so it was like so weird.
Well, so she's definitely like, no, I'm out of this. Like, this is not
I felt
my
like she
life
was
anymore.
ripping herself. Like, it was a specific tear where it put her husband and son on one side and her on the other. I think that
to
was...
me, that symbolizes she's removing herself from that part of her life, though, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, also, it's just super weird to me that was the choice after taking the picture. Like, she's like thinking about it. I don't know. It was an odd choice at the end, but anyway, that's the story I got.
I was sad we didn't get to see her actually kill the guy. She gets up and grabs her knife and walks after him, and that was all I saw. Yeah. And I was kind of... I mean, it didn't need to happen. You know what happens, but kind of for that, like, little bit of relief, you kind of wanted to be able to see her take her revenge, and it never happened.
I don't told throughout the entire movie that she's like an unstoppable killing force, but we never really get to see it. Like, I feel like we're almost robbed of an interaction between her and Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
who's supposed to be the actual
killer. Square off for a while. A good just a melee fight would have been awesome.
And one of the scenes that kind of bothered me, like, again, when she is going to kill Mary Beth Medina, and she's in her house, and Mary Beth kind of gets the jump on her for a second. You're pretty confident it's not going to go well because we've been told this is an unstoppable killing machine. Also, the music during that scene was so blatantly, your hero's about to die, sad violin.
I was pissed. There was no tension. At that sound.
Hands down on your knees. Now.
Right, like that actually bothered me. Like, most of the time when we're talking about these, like, I'll talk about the music and like, oh, it's amazing, it's really triumphant, or I didn't really notice it. This is one that stood out in a negative way for me. And I like to watch this movie separately, so I saw this scene twice, and both times I'm just like, you are really choreographing that Mary Beth has no chance in this fight when this could be a very tense moment where you're not sure, because we do see her get the jump on her. We do see that she could be in control of this fight, and she does hold her own well enough for the first little bit. But you know she's going to die because the music's so sad. And you're just like, oh, that was a poor choice, I thought.
Well, and she ended up living, actually. So it was kind of like they're trying to make us think that she's going to die. And she actually did live. But at the same time, I'm just like you, Dan. I heard that music play and I'm like, are you kidding me? You're telling me the end of the story before we get there. Yeah. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. I think that they should have queued that music up after she got stabbed.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'd be thinking, oh, she's going to die. But then she actually kind of pulls through. And also, I hate when the good guy comes up to the bad guy, or the bad guy comes up to the good guy with a gun to the head, and they're like, "Don't move!" And then the person with the gun to their head steps to the side and grabs the gun every single time. I hate that. Give me a better transition of how that character gets out of that situation. I'm sick and tired of that Hollywood switcheroo thing. One of these days, somebody's going to try and get out of that and just get their brains blown out. I'll be like,
I guarantee you it's happened. I guarantee you that has happened. Don't push the gun against the person. Don't let them know where you are calisthenically. Right. Keep like an inch or two distance, and like your odds of survival go up significantly. But as soon as you're touching the person, they know where you are, and then they can react accordingly.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's Hollywood. It's fine.
It's Hollywood.
Chat mentions the line dancing.
That's exactly where I was about to go. You mentioned you sounded like you had an issue with it. I kind of liked that because it looked not so much like he was. I mean, I guess he was learning it very quickly because of his autism, but it looked like pattern recognition. It looked like he was getting excited because he's like, oh, I get this. Normal dancing would probably be chaotic and random for him, but this is very much like, oh, step left, step right, kick up, kick back, step left, step right, kick up, kick back. Probably some part of his brain was getting excited, and you can see that in Ben Affleck's face while he's sitting there watching this. Like, he wanted to connect with that woman, and then he was like, oh, I can do that. I can't dance, but I can do that. And I actually liked that scene quite a bit.
I
not even ironically.
I agree with that, except the one caveat to that is that the line dancing itself was like 5 minutes. It was way too long of him learning and getting it and going. It was way too long. The rest of the scene is great because you see how excited his brother gets. And he's like, that's my brother. He's like so proud of him. You like feel that. And, you know, just their discussion prior leading up to the dancing and him like fumbling, getting this girl at the start and then like finding his way in. It was all great lead up. And the end was great with him being like, oh, punch me in the face. You know, my brother's going to really enjoy this. He's having a bad night. It was all great, except for like the full 5-minute song. It was way too much. It should have been like a minute max. And then it would have been like probably the best scene in the movie.
No, I will say, and I don't, autism is a spectrum. And in this one, he doesn't even have that. He's just got a condition. So who knows? But theoretically, from what I know of autism, he shouldn't have known that his brother was having a bad time, should he? Like,
he should have had trouble understanding those cues, but he's been learning and whatnot. So he throughout the first movie and a few times in the second movie, he would make a blatant statement like, you're upset, because he is recognizing cues and reminding himself and the other person, I see that this is happening. So
in fairness, when he says it in the first one, I think they're yelling at him.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a subtle facial cue.
It seems like he's kind of getting a feel for this. Also, I noticed a little bit of that during like the dating scene. It looked like he was recognizing the emotional state of the other people and doing it a little too readily. I just felt like he'd evolved so much and changed so much and became so much higher functioning than himself 8 years ago. It kind of bothered me because I mean, good on him. I'm glad he's improving and everything, but it just felt like this isn't even the same person.
Yeah.
It's a superhero movie. It is what it is.
You're not wrong. During the speed dating section, I almost got the impression, whether this is decent acting or just me reading too much into it, like he could tell that they weren't interested, but he couldn't stop himself because he started telling them about the accounting issue they were having, and he had to, because he likes to finish puzzles, not that we saw any of that in this movie.
Yeah.
He had to finish telling them about how to save on their taxes, even though he could recognize, I've lost you entirely. Like, you have no interest in what I'm saying.
Or telling them like, oh yeah, finding true love or love at first sight is like mathematically impossible. And then they're like
clearly
completely devastated. And he's like, oh, okay, I see. You don't like that. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
there was one puzzle that he did solve, which wasn't exactly an accounting puzzle, but they made it into an accounting puzzle, which was Agent Medina, or whatever her name was, had the pictures on the wall with all the stuff, and she fell asleep. And then, we fast forward. The viewers don't get to see it, but he's rearranged everything. And then he explains how he figured it all out with all these like accounting things that were way over my head. Like, he talked so fast, I could not follow that at all. And I wasn't going to rewind it and watch it again because I wanted to be done with this movie, frankly. So that was the only puzzle I saw him solve, though. Other than that, he wasn't an accountant.
The other only thing was maybe the pizza guy, where he was talking about how many pizzas they sold and why the numbers didn't add up. That was a brief moment.
But
it was more. It was more about breaking arms and taking names at that
over
point.
my head. I couldn't understand it at all, and I was like, okay, I guess Hollywood likes to over-explain things or just completely leave me out to dry, and they left me out to dry on this one.
Yeah. Maybe if you were a mathematical savant, you would have been able to keep up.
So the scene you're talking about with all the pictures on the wall, I agree with you that when he was actually explaining how he got there, most of that I was just like, okay, I don't really understand the logical leap that you took from A to B on that one, but sure. But the fact that they showed visually how his brain works versus how her brain worked, I did like that in theory. It just didn't kind of petered out. It didn't end the way that it should have, to be like, oh shit, like he's actually really smart. It was just like, oh, he thinks different and he's making these leaps.
It was a much better sequence in one when he's writing all over the windows and he's explaining it to Kendrick. I enjoyed that a lot more than this, which was just so convoluted and I didn't understand. Other than the way he actually arranged the photographs on the wall was kind of interesting because it wasn't a normal way that we would. She had it all square and precise and everything, and he had like these sections,
Almost like webs.
Yeah, it was really kind of cool. So I did like what they were going for, but again, execution was terrible on that front.
It's more of an action movie than an accounting movie, I guess.
I'm going to throw this one out there. It's not a big issue. It didn't like stop my enjoyment of the movie. I was just a little bit confused when he's at the, I think, trailer park with his Winnebago thing or his trailer.
Airstream.
His Airstream, thank you. And he's just sitting on top and they're just chilling. Is that a dealership? Is that a trailer park? Like, they were the only people in that entire thing. Does he own all of those? Are those all his?
That's what came to my mind, is that he bought the whole lot, and that's where he just resides because it's quiet. He can just do whatever he wants there.
Well, and if somebody wants to rob him, like, they'll have to try and guess which of the 150 Airstreams is his, I guess. But I couldn't make sense of what that was.
I think that was just a storage yard where you park your RVs, and they were living in it, and you're
all the exact same one.
Yeah, that was my only issue.
Was Airstream. That was what was confusing to me. So it did look like maybe it was a sales lot for Airstreams, but I did see a couple of other ones in there. So I thought it was supposed to be a storage yard, but it was a little convoluted there. I don't think it matters.
It didn't affect my score whatsoever. I was just confused. I wasn't sure if that's a thing or
no, it was minor for sure, and that's why I was like, oh, it would be fun because if it was all Airstreams, he just bought the whole lot.
Yeah, exactly.
He's freaking loaded anyway, right? Like,
it
was like
I don't know how much those cost, but he clearly has some
paintings.
Money.
A couple of paintings, which is also gone pretty much, right?
Yeah, no art in this one.
No art, which I didn't mind it in the first one, but I'm not like sad that it's gone either.
No, for sure.
Also, we didn't see who he worked for. Otherwise, like, did he have any actual? Was he running any gigs for any mafia people this time? Has he had any interaction with the director?
I thought that during the somewhere near the beginning, he was talking to his woman on the phone, and they did like a threat assessment of something. So I assumed that she was still taking jobs and giving them to him.
Okay.
That was my impression, at least.
Okay.
But it was a little weird because the last one he had like a front where he could like hide how he got the money in and out. He had a house that he was living in. Granted, like nothing in the house, but at least he had a house. So I'm surprised he went from that to just like, no, I just live on the run at literally all times.
Yeah, just safer, I guess. But speaking of the voice on the phone, that was a recast. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Allison Robinson plays Justine in The Accountant 2 instead of Allison Wright, who played her in the first movie. They made that switch specifically because Allison Robertson actually is on the spectrum. So they put her into that role. And then Allison Wright still played the voice, like the British voice on the phone.
Okay.
So I think that was a way for them to include a little bit more representation of actual people on the spectrum, which was interesting.
Hey, at least they didn't use like an AI voice for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly thought they would do something like that just to save some money.
And aside from that, I don't know about any of the kids. I didn't research into any of that, but I would assume there was probably more representation on the screen in general there.
Yeah. Speaking of kids, Run's Kids Corner here.
Here we go. Yeah.
We should have a graphic for that.
We recently watched City of God, and I saw some of the best child actors ever, and they were in mass. It was an excellent film. One of the best films I've ever seen. Maybe not my cup of tea, but excellently executed. And they had a lot of kids in a lot of bad situations where they were crying and upset and stuff. When we got to the scene where they're shipping the kids in the bus and they're trying to put them in the hole and kill them all, and the kids were upset, man, City of God ruined that for me because I'm watching this and I'm going, they're not really upset. They're not really scared. They didn't look, they had like, it looked like somebody was behind the camera being like, if you give me a sad face, I'll give you a candy bar. That's what it looked like to me. I didn't see it. The kids didn't fool me in this one. Didn't do anything for me in this. It's unfortunate. I love it when you can get young actors and actresses and they perform really well. And luckily they were just small little side bits, but didn't motivate me for that sequence where they're trying to, do horrible things to these kids.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a minute before we see child actors as strong as we did in City of God. Let's be perfectly frank.
Do you want to talk about this final set piece at all? Did you guys like it? Did you hate it? What do you think about the final action set piece?
The final action sequence I enjoyed. I thought it was a little bit over the top, but I was like, that's okay. It's the final one. 2 guys taking on half an army. Right. No children harmed in the making of this film or in the story. But it was fun. It was intense. I liked them driving in. Funny how no one can hit the driver when the good guys are behind the wheel, but whatever. It was fun and I enjoyed it. And then to top it off, they had some good ambiance, some good music afterwards, some humorous release after all of that. And so, like I said, I think this movie closed well.
Dan, what about yourself?
It was fine. Like I didn't feel any tension to it. Like it was just people getting shot. I was not concerned for Ben Affleck or Jon Bernthal at any point. Maybe a bit more worried for the kids. But even then, it's like, it doesn't seem likely that they're going to, at the very least, show, like maybe they'll hint that the kids are in danger.
Yeah.
They're not likely to show that many kids getting wiped out. As far as the bad guys go, like, I don't know, if somebody's chasing you with guns, I wouldn't worry about getting the kids into the mass grave. I might have just like drove the bus off a cliff and jumped out or something.
Exactly.
The scene was fine. It was fun enough. It was a silly ending to a silly action movie. I
agree with that.
I just didn't connect with this movie as well as I did the first one. So it's just like,
fair. I connect with that sentiment as well. Like, it was a fun, flashy action sequence, but at no time was I worried about anybody, especially the kids. Like, those bad guys had so many opportunities to just end them.
Yeah.
So many. And they just didn't. Like, these guys, they're supposed to be such bad people. Like, they talk about sex trafficking and kidnapping these children, and they're living in an encampment. Like, these are horrendous bad guys they set up in this movie, but they just turn out to be generic, nobody, nothing burger trash. Like they're just no good at their jobs. Like, there's no way any of this should have gone down the way it did. And so that took it out for me. But as far as like, oh yeah, popcorn action, it was a pretty fun scene for sure. I
really liked how Bernthal ran out of ammo. He's got like 1 bullet left, jumps up, shoots the guy, runs and clubs another guy, gets in close with the pistol, holds the pistol into his vest and takes a couple rounds into his vest.
He takes some hits.
I was like, that's cool. That was a cool little sequence. He didn't even stutter step, taking like 4mm rounds right over the hard plate. But
that would take you out.
Okay. So 2 questions about the vest. One, why were they wearing baby gap vests? Like, those things weren't covering anything.
And just 2, lightweight, like, fast-moving tactical armor.
Yeah. My understanding of Kevlar is it's good for like 1 shot at best.
Those
and that guy took like 3 in a row in the exact same location. I'm like, I don't think you're making it, bud. Like, I don't think you're just walking away from that one. I'm pretty sure that one's for your heart.
When you see him helping him get the vest off, they're solid plate. They're solid plate ones. And yeah, Kevlar, you couldn't put 3 rounds in the same spot in a Kevlar, you'd break through.
Yeah. Either way, though, metal plate or not, if you're taking 5 rounds in the chest, you're out. Like you're out of the fight.
That's like somebody swinging a sledgehammer into that metal plate 3 times in a row. Is what it's going to feel like.
It's action movie science, so it doesn't matter.
At absolute least, you're breaking a rib or something.
Oh, you're ass.
I said at least. Cool as hell to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
it did look good. I'll give you that it looked good.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
But honestly, did you guys think that the action sequences prior to that were any good? Because I thought they were crap up till that. So I kept thinking they tried to do the comedy skits too much, and they weren't landing the jokes. And the action sequences, I don't know. Maybe I just watched this movie in too many chunks, and I broke it up the wrong way. I don't know. I didn't like the action sequences before.
So most of the action sequences up until that were pretty short little bursts of action. Like, you've got him beating up the pizza guy, which was fine. You had the sniper taking the witness out, which I actually thought was pretty cool. I'm not sure about the logistics of it, but it was a cool enough scene. You had the fight between Medina and Anais. Which I thought was actually pretty good, except for the music.
With J.K. Simmons, that was okay, but you didn't get to see a lot there. Again, she takes out some people, and we don't get to see it.
That's kind of the thing, though. Is like it's a lot of small action sequences. That's the only big action sequence that I can think of, at very least. I thought it was fine for what it was, but if this would have been like Commando and there was, an action sequence every 10 minutes, maybe I would have expected more from the ending. But like most of them leading up to that were like bar fights essentially, and then you finally get like, no, this is guns out, let's go.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. The issue with this movie was it felt like they were trying to build up the right-hand man, but I never felt like they got there.
I guess he screwed up more than he succeeded in the movie, though. Like the sniper guy, you mean?
Yeah, like he had the sniper. You were supposed to get the impression that being the right-hand man of this guy, he would be capable.
Agreed, but not once did he ever finish a job.
He failed 100% of the time. He failed.
Yep.
I mean,
I was like, is this guy's like younger brother or something that he just keeps on hand because he's his brother and he has to give him a job? Because this guy is he's not completing the work. Okay,
but that's actually leading to my point even stronger then, because you've got him who's not built up to be much of anybody. You've got the main villain, I guess, who you're supposed to feel sympathy for, and we never really get a good fight between her and anybody we care about. Right. And then you've got the bad guy who gets killed off screen.
Yeah.
So like the last fight is literally just Ben Affleck and John Bernthal against faceless enemies. And like I said, like there was no tension in it because like no faceless enemy is going to hurt either of these guys.
Yeah,
I agree. And that's why I said, right, like generic bad guys that are supposed to be these horrible, horrible human beings, like they're relying so much on what they're doing and not what we're seeing. And to me, that was a disconnect.
If you like what we do and you want to support us, head on over to our Patreon. There's a link down below. Thank you very much to our executive producers, Real Bubba Hotep and Dino, for helping keep the lights on. And a huge shout out to our head writer, Elder JM 990. You are all greatly appreciated to keep this show running. All right, Brian, are you okay if we go back to regular?
Yeah, let's go. All right, so I'm going to keep this short and simple. This movie gets a 51 for me. It's just barely passable as something that might be of interest to people. It had some enjoyable moments. I think that Bernthal carried this film. I liked his character development, and specifically the action sequences that he was in, specifically the end sequence, had some really cool scenes. He was the only one that was ever really in danger in any of those fights, and even then you knew he wasn't going to die. But overall, I think this movie kind of improved a little bit, or at least they tried to improve a little bit over the first one. And I went into this expecting one thing, didn't get what I expected, but it wasn't total trash. So that's why it gets a 51 for me.
All right. So this actually went up for you. Interesting.
Just a bit.
No, I mean, I'll take it. All right. Unlike Brian, this one actually went down a little bit for me. I feel like the action sequences were totally fine, but the actual... I don't know. It's hard for me because the characters were more engaging. I did like seeing Ben Affleck and John Bernthal interacting with each other. The fight sequences were totally fine. The action was fine. The comedy didn't really land for the most part. The sound, as I mentioned, that one entire sequence was just really off and off-putting for me. But overall, maybe it was just the plot was a little bit confusing to me. Maybe the length of the movie was just a little bit too long for what we got. I just found myself tuning out a little bit more. The first movie had me engaged pretty much the entire way along. This one just kind of left me a little bit cooler. I didn't think it was poorly done. I like most of the actors in this. It was fun enough to watch. It's just not necessarily one that I'm left with that feeling of like, man, I can't wait to rewatch that. It just kind of left me a little bit chillier. So I'm giving this one a 64, which is 6 points down from my rating of the first movie.
All right. Like Brian, I actually enjoyed this sequel slightly more than the original. I think it had a lot of the same problems, but a lot of the same positives as well. For some reason, I think the director or maybe the writer, who are the same for both movies, are good at character development. And specifically in this one, the relationship between the brothers was pretty much the highlight of the movie, and I enjoyed it. I connected with that. Did it mean a character change for Ben Affleck's character? Yeah, pretty much. but I was okay with it because I didn't really care for his character that much in the first one. Aside from that, I didn't mind the additional humor. I thought pretty much all the brother scenes were pretty well handled, and that's what got me through this movie. And they kind of were the bulk of the movie. Was it long? Yeah, too long. Could there have been more action? Yeah. Could there have been more emphasis on the title of the film? Probably. But I don't know. I felt a little bit better. Like maybe the plot was a little more straightforward, which helped, even though it was pretty generic. But there wasn't as much questionable material in this one compared to the first one. And by questionable material, I mean execution of. And so maybe just the overall execution was slightly better. This went up a couple of notches for me to 63 compared to 61 on the original.
Okay, and with that, we have our final score of the Accountant franchise, and it didn't change very much. It went up by 1 point, which still keeps it below Gremlins, but above Jurassic World. Now, this is only a 2-part movie as opposed to Jurassic World, which is 4 parts. But I think Brian said last week that he's a little surprised and sad that it was above Jurassic World, and I kind of share that sentiment, having seen the second one. I think Jurassic World, laugh all you want, I'm more likely to go back to than I am either of the Accountants.
Jurassic World is just more fun than this movie was. That's all.
Yeah.
The first one, to be clear.
The problem is
Jurassic World.
yeah, the problem is with all franchises, the more movies you make, the higher chance you have to fall. And that's what happened here. That's a classic case of that's why Jurassic World as a whole is lower than The Accountant, just because it has more. Wait till The Accountant Cube comes out and we'll drop that right down under.
I was just about to ask, though, because this movie went up for both of you. Does that have do you have any interest in Accountant 3, or were you only watching this because of this show and you'll never see them again?
No. As we've stated before, anything under a 65, I would pass on in general.
Yeah.
I haven't changed my mind on that at all for this movie.
Yeah, I think anything under 50 is unwatchable for me, is something that I would tell people, I would recommend people go away from. That's why I gave this one a 51, because it has some redeeming aspects. And if you're interested in these actors and some gunfights, then
just go watch
ahead.
Netflix's The Punisher, get your fill of John.
Yeah, you're going to be better off there with The Punisher for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and that is our rating of The Accountant 2, but what's yours? Let us know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. We record this live over at twitch.tv/The Mongoolie Show on Thursday nights, so you can head over there and hit the follow button if you want to hang out with us live, or if you made it this far in the video, make sure to hit like and subscribe so that I see you in the next one.